She didn't see it coming. The way a life can unravel quietly, one strand at a time, until all that's left is the sound of your own breathing in a room you no longer belong to. Zaria had plans. Not perfect ones, but they were hers. A good job, a fiancé with charm and ambition, an apartment with sunlit windows and a view of the city skyline. She used to stand by that window, coffee in hand, whispering her prayers like secrets into the glass. Thank you, Lord, for stability. She didn't realize how fragile stability could be. It started with a meeting, routine, until the HR director shifted uncomfortably and avoided eye contact. We're downsizing. I'm sorry. Zaria nodded, smiled even. She held herself together until the elevator doors closed. Then she crumbled, shoulders shaking in silence. She didn't tell anyone at first, not even her fiancé, Caleb. She thought maybe she could fix it, find something quick, patch it up, pretend. But 2 weeks passed and Caleb noticed. He didn't ask how she was doing. He asked what was for dinner. She wanted to believe he was just stressed, but that week his texts grew shorter. His nights got later, and his phone always face down. Then came the silence, a dinner that never happened, a phone that rang and rang, until a photo appeared on her timeline, Caleb with someone else, in Jamaica, smiling wide like nothing was broken. The room spun. Not from the betrayal, but from the realization that she had been alone for a long time before she ever knew it. 3 days later, the landlord came knocking. Late payments, no job, no options. He gave her until Friday. And just like that, the apartment with the skyline view became a memory, packed in boxes she couldn't carry alone. Zaria sat on the floor one last time. No bed, no furniture, just her and the echo of a life that looked perfect 2 months ago. She looked out the window again. No coffee this time, no whisper. Just a tear that rolled down without permission. God, are you still here? She didn't hear an answer, only the hum of traffic and the quiet ache of letting go. But somewhere in the unseen, a thread had already begun to move. Zaria didn't move right away. She sat still on the hardwood floor of the apartment that used to be hers. No boxes, no echo, no future. Just silence, the kind that hums louder than sound. The sun had started to set, a golden hour that used to make her kitchen glow, but now it felt like the end of something. She rested her head against the wall, her breath shaky, her eyes dry but tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. She thought about calling someone, anyone, but shame is a strange thing. It wraps itself around your voice until silence feels safer. Her phone buzzed. She looked down. A message from her landlord. Polite, firm. He was coming in the morning. She had to go. Zaria stood up slowly, gathered her purse, a half-empty duffel bag, and one framed photo from the night Caleb proposed, just to remember that something good had once existed. She walked out without looking back. The next 3 nights blurred into each other. Couch to couch, floor to floor, friend to friend, each one kind, but each goodbye came with an expiration date. She kept smiling, kept saying, I'm okay, but her eyes started to dull. Her days were spent walking, not for exercise, just to feel less stuck, less noticed. She stopped checking job boards, stopped answering calls, stopped praying. Because what do you say to a God who feels absent? How do you pray when the words come out empty? On the 5th night, she sat on a park bench just before midnight. The city around her buzzed with life. Couples laughing, cars honking, music playing from somewhere far away. And there she was, a ghost in her own life, staring up at a sky with no answers, wondering what the point was. An older woman walked by and paused. She wore a thick scarf even though it wasn't cold. And her eyes were soft but knowing. You look like someone who's been holding her breath too long. Zaria blinked, didn't answer, just nodded. The woman sat beside her. They didn't speak, not for a long while. Then the woman said, "The wilderness doesn't mean you're lost. It just means he's about to lead you somewhere new." Zaria turned, but the woman was already standing, walking away. No name, no explanation, just a sentence that wrapped around Zaria's heart like a whisper. She stayed there a while longer, thinking, breathing, maybe even hoping. But morning would come again, and with it, another empty day, another reminder that she had no home, no plan, and no idea what came next. But that sentence, it stayed. The wilderness doesn't mean you're lost. Zaria didn't sleep that night. She sat on the same bench until the sky shifted from black to gray. The city began to stretch and wake. Delivery trucks, morning joggers, streetlights blinking off one by one. She pulled her jacket tighter. It wasn't cold, but she felt a chill inside her. The kind that comes from being in between. Not home, not completely gone, just somewhere suspended. The woman's voice echoed in her mind. The wilderness doesn't mean you're lost. She didn't know why that sentence had hit her so hard. She just knew she couldn't go back to pretending everything was fine. Zaria stood up slowly. Her feet ached, her shoulders heavy. But she started walking, no destination, just moving. A few blocks later, something strange happened. She passed a small building tucked between two shops. Brick exterior, a wooden sign that simply said, Grace Revival Church. She had passed the street before, dozens of times, but she'd never noticed that door. Today, it called to her. Not loudly, not even in words, just a pull. She stopped walking, turned to look at it, then looked away. No, not today. She kept walking, 2 steps, 3, then she stopped again. A breeze rushed past her, and she felt it, deep in her chest, like someone whispering inside her, "Go in." She hesitated, then turned back. Her hand reached for the doorknob slowly, as if something sacred waited inside. The door creaked open, warm light spilled out, and piano chords hummed from somewhere within. She stepped in quietly. No one noticed her. A few people sat scattered in the pews, some with eyes closed, one man kneeling near the altar, a woman holding a baby in the back row. Zaria slid into the last pew. Her heart beat louder than the music. She didn't know what she was doing there. She just knew she was tired of running. The piano paused, then a voice spoke. Not a preacher's voice, not loud or rehearsed, just a woman, middle-aged, standing at the front with a microphone and eyes full of peace. Sometimes God will let everything fall apart, so he can show you what was never built on him to begin with. Zaria froze. She didn't even blink. It felt like the whole room vanished, like those words had been spoken only to her. She sat still, unmoving. But something inside her shifted. Not everything, not yet, but something. For the first time in weeks, she felt seen, not by people, not by circumstance, but by God. Zaria stayed in that pew long after the woman's voice faded. The silence in the room wasn't empty. It was full, heavy with something she couldn't name but didn't want to leave. Her hands stayed clasped in her lap, her knuckles pressing together as if holding herself still would make the moment last longer. She could hear the faint hum of the ceiling fans overhead, the quiet shuffle of someone flipping through a Bible a few rows ahead. Her eyes blurred as tears rose, but she didn't fight them this time. They slid down her cheeks slowly, cooling against her skin, falling into her hoodie without a sound. She didn't even try to understand it. She just let it happen. Across the aisle, the woman with the baby glanced toward her again, just a quick warm look, and something about it felt like a silent promise. A promise that pain did not last forever, that maybe she was not as alone as she thought. The middle-aged woman set the microphone on the podium, her movements calm and unhurried. She bowed her head for a moment, and the pianist began to play again. Gentle chords matched the rhythm of Zaria's breathing. Her shoulders loosened, the tension in her jaw eased. For the first time in weeks, she was not bracing for bad news or rejection or the next hit. She was just here. And being here felt like relief. She closed her eyes briefly and whispered something under her breath, not even sure if it was a prayer, but the words left her anyway. Thank you. She opened her eyes again and let them wander toward the tall, stained glass windows, colors spilling across the pews and floor in shapes that seemed alive. She traced the light with her eyes, following it until it landed on the altar. Her chest ached, but in a different way now, not from loss, but from the sudden awareness that maybe she still had something left to give. Maybe she could start again. She stayed until the service ended. People began to stand, gathering their bags, exchanging quiet greetings. No one hurried her. No one asked questions. She rose slowly, glancing toward the front one more time, and felt that same gentle pull she had felt outside the door. As she stepped into the sunlight, she realized her feet were lighter, not healed, not whole, but lighter. And for now, that was enough.